Hello there. It's a quiet evening, and I'm so glad you found this moment of peace with me. Wherever you are, allow the edges of your day to soften and the light around you to dim. Imagine the night sky opening above you, not filled with rush or noise, but with an immense, quiet depth. Tonight, we're going to share a truly tender question, one that often feels too vast to hold in the daytime. If time is always moving forward, are the chapters we've lived truly gone? Or do they linger in some profound, unseen way? We'll explore the beautiful, delicate fabric of what we call time and let science whisper its secrets about how the moments that shape us might not vanish as completely as we think. It's a gentle exploration, like tracing old memories in the dark. There's no hurry here, just a shared breath and a shared wonder. If this quiet wandering helps your mind settle and your spirit soften, please consider offering a soft like and a gentle subscribe. It's the quietest way to help other weary minds find their way to this calm, unhurried space. For now, let your thoughts grow light, like old photographs fading in a warm drawer. Close your eyes, and we'll begin this slow drift together. As you let your body settle into the darkness around you, notice that your first sense of time is not on a clock face or a phone screen. It lives in the slow rise and fall of your chest, in the way your breath arrives and leaves. It lives in the way the light in your room shifted today, bright at noon, then dimmer. Until now, it has thinned into night. You do not meet time as numbers. You meet it as change. Time is the name we give to the fact that nothing holds perfectly still. Not this moment, not this thought, not even the quiet way your hand rests where it is. Imagine yourself standing beside a river, lowering your foot into the flow. You feel a cool swirl around your ankle, a tug, a rush that is alive. But if you lift your foot and place it back again, you are touching different water. The river has moved on. A long time ago, a philosopher named Heraclitus tried to put this feeling into words. You cannot step into the same river twice because everything flows, not just the water, but you as well. And yet, we try to hold on. We build clocks and calendars and alarms, small fences of minutes and days, as if we could pin time down. We schedule, we measure, we count. But beneath all those tidy numbers, something older is moving, a quiet current that was there long before clocks and will be there after they stop. Your body feels this current, even when your mind is far away. Inside you, cells are dividing. Proteins fold and unfold, like tiny hands opening and closing in a rhythm they have kept for longer than there have been humans. Your heart gathers itself, squeezes, and rests, then does it again. Your lungs open to receive air and release it, again and again, without asking your permission. Even when you lie completely still, you are not still at all. Billions of tiny acts are happening inside you, layered and overlapping, like dancers moving silently across a darkened stage. This, too, is time, biological time, the time your body keeps by simply being alive. You can feel it in the way your muscles slowly relax into the mattress, in the heaviness behind your eyes, in the way your thoughts begin to loosen their grip and drift. While this is happening in you, the world outside is flowing as well. Far above, the earth is turning under a coat of stars. Somewhere, the ocean is pulling itself away from a beach, leaving a line of wet sand. Somewhere else, a flower is quietly opening its petals into the dark. And still, a question lingers. What is this thing we call time? You cannot hold it in your hand, You cannot collect it in a jar and keep it for later. It has no weight, no color, no sound of its own. Some people have said that time is simply our way of noticing that things are different from how they once were. Others have suggested that time is stitched into the universe itself, woven so tightly into space that the two cannot be separated. In physics, time is treated as a dimension, much like height or width or depth, a direction in which everything moves. You cannot pause in this direction. You cannot turn around and walk back to yesterday or skip ahead into tomorrow before it arrives. And yet, if time is just change, why does it feel so steady, so one way? Why does yesterday feel locked behind you and tomorrow feel unreachable, no matter how much you long for it? No one fully knows. For tonight, you do not have to solve it. It is enough to know that you are drifting along a river that has no clear beginning or end, carried by a current no one completely understands. People often picture time as a straight road, a simple line stretching from past to future, but inside you, it behaves more like a spiral. Memories circle back, a scent in the hallway, a bar of music, the way the air feels before rain, and suddenly a moment from years ago rises up, bright and close. The past, which seems so far away, brushes gently against the present. Think of a time when you were very small, maybe the glow of a candle, or the chill of a winter breeze sneaking in through a window. Where is that moment now? It is not floating somewhere outside you. It has sunk into you, pressed into the shape of who you are. Time does not only move past you, it settles inside you, layer by layer, like fine dust resting on the bottom of a riverbed. Just as the river carries silt and tiny stones, your mind carries moments. They collect and settle, forming the curves and hollows of your inner landscape. Because of this, you are not only traveling through time, time is also quietly building you from within. And then another question rises, soft as mist on that river. If everything keeps moving, where does it all go? Where is yesterday now? Where is the version of you who looked up at the sky 10 years ago, or the laugh that spilled out of you one warm summer night? Do those moments vanish completely, or do they remain in some quiet way, folded into the universe, folded into you? You do not need a final answer. You can let the question rest beside you, like a friendly shape in the dark. Even if the river of time never stops, you can still turn your attention gently backward, not with regret, but with wonder. Everything changes, and at the same time, some part of every moment is carried forward into your memory, your habits, your way of seeing the world. As you float in that thought, you may notice another layer of time revealing itself, closer and more intimate. It is quieter than the ticking of any clock, so quiet that you could live your whole life without putting a name to it, and yet you depend on it every day. It is the rhythm at the center of your body's days and nights. You may not feel it directly, but every cell in you is keeping track of where you are in the cycle of light and dark. There is no brass gear or swinging hand inside you, no ringing chime. But there is a pattern, precise and ancient, humming along in the background. Life has been following this pattern for so long that it has become part of what life is. Imagine that the wide river of time outside you is feeding many smaller channels within you. These channels are your body's own clocks, made not of metal, but of molecules. They do not tell you that it is midnight. They are the feeling of morning gathering in your chest, the heaviness of evening in your limbs, the gentle tug of sleep as night deepens. They keep time by changing shape, by starting and stopping tiny reactions, by whispering to your body when to rise, when to eat, when to repair, when to rest. This daily rhythm has a name: your circadian rhythm, your built-in day. The phrase simply means around a day, because this inner loop runs on a cycle of roughly 24 hours. Even if you were hidden away from clocks and sunlight and schedules, your body would still try to keep this pattern. It does not need a watch. It is the watch. Deep inside your brain, in a small cluster of nerve cells with a long, complicated name you do not need to remember, a quiet conductor is guiding the orchestra of your internal time. From that tiny region, signals spread outward, reaching your organs, your tissues, your cells, reminding them where they are in the day. And within each cell, little molecular machines are turning, made of proteins that build up and break down in repeating loops. This molecular dance shapes more of your life than you might realize. Your urge to sleep, your sense of hunger, the warmth of your skin, the strength of your immune defenses, the way your liver handles sugar after a meal, all of these follow rhythms tied to these small inner clocks. You can think of them as gentle tides within you, rising and falling in time, not with the moon, but with the turning of the earth and the coming and going of light. Your body learns which part of the cycle it is in by listening to the world. The main signal it pays attention to is light. When morning light reaches your eyes, even if your lids are closed, special cells in your retina notice it. They send a message along hidden pathways deep into your brain to that little conductor of time. It is day now. From there, wakefulness is encouraged. Certain hormones rise, others fall, and your body prepares to move. When the sun goes down and darkness gathers, another message is sent. Your brain begins to release a chemical often called the hormone of darkness, melatonin, a soft internal lullaby. It does not knock you into sleep like a switch. Instead, it leans over your shoulder and whispers that it is time to grow quiet. Your limbs loosen, your eyelids grow heavier, and the world feels a little further away. Even beyond your brain, your organs keep their own schedules. Your stomach gets ready for meals before you eat. Your heart behaves differently at night, beating a little more slowly, resting when you rest. Your muscles repair themselves more effectively while you sleep. Every part of you has its preferred time to work, and together these rhythms weave into something like a song. When that song is disrupted, you feel it. Jet lag is not just simple tiredness. It is what happens when the world outside changes its mornings and evenings faster than your inner clocks can adjust. Your body is still living by the time of the place you left, while your surroundings insist that it is something else. People who work through the night and sleep during the day feel a similar mismatch. Their bodies hear alarms and see bright lights, but deep inside, the old pattern is still asking for sunrise and sunset. Even the glow of screens, blue and insistent, can confuse your inner timekeepers, whispering stay awake at the very hour your cells are beginning to ask for sleep. Still, your body is forgiving. It bends, recalibrates, slowly finds a new rhythm when it has to. These clocks have been shaped over an enormous span of time. This daily rhythm is older than any human culture, and even tiny single-celled creatures with no eyes and no brain respond to the cycle of day and night. Cyanobacteria adjust their inner chemistry as light comes and goes. The rhythm of light and dark is one of the first patterns life ever learned. You inherit that pattern. You are made of it. You are not only living in time, you are built to keep time. And there is something quietly astonishing in the fact that while you sleep, when you feel most at rest, so much of this timing is still unfolding. As you dream, your brain is not simply idling. It is sorting, and strengthening memories, deciding what to keep and what to let fade. It is gently untangling some of the knots of the day, softening sharp emotions, clearing space for tomorrow's experiences. Your body is healing, your blood pressure easing, your breathing deepening into a slower, steadier rhythm. Sleep is not the absence of activity. It is a different kind of work, deep and necessary, carried out in silence while your conscious mind lets go. You can feel this rhythm in the way your energy tends to rise mid-morning, then dip, then soften again toward evening. It appears in the times your hunger visits you, often at familiar hours, as if it, too, were following a clock. Rhythm runs through the parts of your life that go beyond the body as well. You can hear it in music, in the pace of a poem, in the gentle pattern of conversation that flows and pauses and flows again. You can sense it in the timing of trust between people, in the slow unfolding of love, in the long, patient arc of grief. You are a rhythmic being in a rhythmic world, and that rhythm does not exist only within each person. It stretches between us. When a baby rests on a parent's chest, their breathing can begin to match. Some part of you recognizes this, even if you've never put it into words. Some part of you knows, as you listen and drift now, that it is a good moment for quiet, for slowing down, for release. Your body, with all its clocks and currents, is signaling that it is time to rest, and you are allowed to listen. And it's often in that soft space, when the body settles and the rhythms around you fall gentle and low, that another kind of question begins to stir. Just before sleep gathers you in completely, your mind lifts a quieter thread. If the body keeps time with beats and breaths and cycles, how does the mind keep time with stories? Where does memory live, if it isn't a place you can point to? How does it hold the shape of the past so that something that is gone can still feel so present? One rhythm eases you toward rest. Another begins to ask where the echoes of your life reside. You can let your eyes close a little more, because to follow this question, you don't need to look at anything outside you. The path is inward, into a softer kind of mirror. Memory doesn't sit in a single spot, like a neatly labeled drawer. It isn't a row of shelves where each moment is stored in order, waiting for you to come and pull one down. You don't rewind your life the way you might rewind a video and press play to see it exactly as it was. Memory is gentler than that and more fluid. It's more like stepping into a still pond and watching the surface shimmer. Shapes appear on the water familiar, but shifting. They rearrange themselves, blend into one another, vanish, and return. You remember with many parts of your brain at once. The sound of someone's voice, the warmth of a room, the smell of rain, the flutter in your chest. Each of these lives in a slightly different place. When you remember, your mind is not simply reaching into a box and pulling out the past. It is rebuilding that past from scattered pieces, like an artist taking old colors and brushing them carefully onto a fresh canvas. For tonight, imagine yourself floating into that canvas, drifting through the soft mirrors where echoes of your life still whisper. Deep inside your brain, curled in the folds, there is a small seahorse-shaped structure called the hippocampus. You don't need to remember its name, you only need to know what it does. When something happens, a face, a place, a sudden feeling, the hippocampus helps bind these threads together into one woven pattern. It doesn't capture every detail, and it doesn't hold them exactly as they were forever. It ties enough of them into a bundle so that later you can find your way back. With time, that bundle spreads outward. The visual parts of your brain hold on to the colors and shapes. The centers that process sound keep the tone of the voice, the melody of a song, the patter of rain. The regions that feel emotion keep the ache, the joy, the fear, the calm. Each part of the memory settles into its own corner, like scattered stars across a night sky. Later, when you remember, your mind gathers those stars again and traces a constellation between them. That's why memories don't feel like perfectly still photographs. They shimmer a little. They may change slightly when you look at them. They blend with other nights and other rooms. They borrow details. They soften edges. They bend around your feelings in the present. Remembering is not a passive act. It is creative. Every time you recall something, your brain is not just replaying it, it is remaking it. And in that remaking, the memory itself can be reshaped. Think of a childhood moment you've carried with you. Maybe a birthday with a slightly crooked cake, frosting leaning to one side. Maybe a summer evening where the sky seemed to stay light longer than it should, and you played outside until someone gently called you in. Maybe the feeling of your hand buried in the fur of a dog who is no longer here. You might have told these stories many times, to yourself or to others. Are they exactly as they once were? Or have they taken on new colors, picked up details from other days, softened in some places and brightened in others? Each retelling, each silent replay, leaves a small fingerprint on the memory. This is part of the quiet magic of your mind. Memory can be both anchor and mirage, deeply true in feeling, even if some of the small pieces have shifted. Your brain doesn't do this to trick you. It does it because memory was never meant to be a perfect recording. It was meant to help you move forward. The things you remember most vividly, a moment of danger, a burst of laughter, a lesson that stung but stayed, these are the ones that might guide you again. Memories that helped you survive, connect, or understand are the ones your mind keeps bringing into focus. The details that were never needed again, the color of the shoes of the person behind you in a line, the pattern of wallpaper in a room you only saw once, can fade into the background. This isn't a failure. It's a kind of grace. Your brain is not wasting energy on everything. It is curating, sculpting, choosing what might matter for the story you still have to live. Forgetting, then, is not always a sign of weakness. It can be a sign of wisdom. Your mind lets some things fall away to keep the roots of you healthy. It trims and prunes so that new experiences can grow. There is only so much space to keep things vivid and bright, so the rest can sink quietly into the shadows. And yet some memories resist that fading. They rise up suddenly without your asking. The smell of wet pavement brings back a walk you took years ago. A single note in a song unlocks a whole season of your life. The way the light slants through a window in late afternoon suddenly makes you feel 10 years younger, sitting in a different room with different worries. These are sometimes called involuntary memories. They arrive unannounced, as if some hidden part of your mind has been patiently waiting for the right trigger. Your brain is always pairing moments with meaning, even when you are not aware of it. A certain taste becomes tied to safety and warmth. A corner of a particular street becomes woven with the memory of loss. A laugh carries the shape of someone you miss so much, it aches. Emotion gives memory its staying power. You remember most clearly not just what happened, but how it felt, the fear, the relief, the comfort, the embarrassment, the awe. That feeling is like a bright thread woven through the pattern, easy to find and hard to tear out. And there is another strange, tender truth. Sometimes you remember things that didn't happen, at least not quite the way you recall them. This does not mean your mind is broken. It means it is imaginative. Two similar events merge into one. A story you've heard so often becomes something you feel you lived yourself. Your brain fills in missing pieces, smoothing over gaps so the memory can feel complete. Even these false memories can carry a kind of truth. They can be honest about how you felt, what you needed, what mattered to you, even if the exact scene has blurred or shifted. Your mind is not a cold archive. It is a meaning maker. It arranges your past so that it can make sense to you. Not all memory is about looking backward. Much of it is about looking ahead. The same pathways in the brain that light up when you remember walking through autumn leaves will glow when you imagine a walk you haven't taken yet. To plan, to dream, to picture yourself in a future situation, your mind borrows from the past. It cuts and stitches old scenes to build a picture of what might come next. In this way, memory lets you travel through time in both directions, revisiting what has been and previewing what may be. When you sleep, these threads often weave together in ways that feel strange and non-linear. Fragments of different days drift into the same place. People who never met appear together. Rooms merge, distances collapse, emotions bleed across the boundaries of time. The strict rules that keep your waking life in order loosen here. In dreams, time curves and folds, and your memories play in new combinations, sometimes frightening, sometimes beautiful, sometimes just quietly odd. It is easy to think of memory as fragile, because it sometimes slips away, because it sometimes bends. And it is fragile, but it is also immensely powerful. It gives you your sense of continuity, the feeling that you are the same person who woke up yesterday and the day before, even though you are always changing. Without memory, your life would be a string of isolated now moments, each one appearing and disappearing with nothing to connect them. With memory, you become a story, a long, unfolding one, written day by day. Your mind, even with its softness and its mistakes, is doing something astonishing. It is holding you together across years, across places, across all the different versions of you that have existed and will exist. It keeps carrying forward the essentials of who you are. As you rest here, letting your breath slow, you can imagine those inner echoes gently settling, like voices growing quieter in a large, calm hall. And in that quiet, another thought can rise. If you carry these echoes inside you, does the universe carry echoes too? Does it remember where it has been? Are there scars, ripples, traces written into the stars and the spaces between them that tell a story of long-vanished moments? To feel your way into that question, you might imagine yourself drifting far above the earth. You leave behind the cities and the clouds, rise past the thin blue curve of the atmosphere. The planet becomes a round, glowing shape beneath you, then a marble, then something small. You pass the pale companion of the moon, glide beyond the familiar spiral of our galaxy, and move out into deeper darkness, where stars are so far apart that their light feels more like a whisper than a shout. You are floating now, weightless and unhurried, wrapped in silence. All around you, the universe is holding its memories. Everywhere you look, there are reminders of what came before. Great clouds of gas and dust nebulae glow with the leftovers of stars that have already burned out and exploded. Their remains become the raw material for new stars and new worlds. Farther away, you might see galaxies twisted and tangled from ancient collisions, still carrying the marks of those long-ago encounters in their stretched-out arms and warped shapes. Even the light itself is a record. When you look into space, you are not just looking across distance, you are looking across time. Light does not arrive instantly. It travels, steady and patient, year after year. The farther away an object is, the longer its light has been on the road. When you look at the nearest large galaxy to us, Andromeda, you are seeing it as it was about 2.5 million years ago. The glow reaching your eyes tonight began its journey long before there were cities, or writing, or human voices like yours. So when astronomers aim powerful telescopes at the sky, they are not just observing a universe that exists now. They are peering into layers of history, stacked like the rings of a tree. The deeper they look, the farther back in time they see, almost as if the universe has kept a series of faint photographs of its own childhood. And then there is the quietest, oldest glow of all. It doesn't come from stars or planets, but from something more uniform and delicate. It is called the cosmic microwave background, a technical phrase that hides a soft, poetic idea. You can think of it as the afterglow of the universe's birth, a faint, cool light that fills all of space. In the very early universe, everything was hot and dense and bright, a storm of particles and light all mixed together. As it expanded and cooled, there came a time when light could finally travel freely, no longer constantly scattered and blocked. The light from that moment has been streaming outward ever since, stretched thinner and cooler across billions of years, until now it is a gentle murmur of energy, too faint for your eyes, but detectable with special instruments. It is like a baby picture of the cosmos, taken when it was very young. When scientists map this background glow, they find that it is not perfectly smooth. There are tiny ripples in temperature and density, slight unevennesses like the faintest fingerprints. Those tiny differences mattered. They were the seeds from which everything familiar grew. In the places where there was just a little more matter, gravity could take hold more strongly. Over immense stretches of time, those slightly denser spots drew in more and more material, eventually forming galaxies, stars, and the structures we see now. In this way, the universe remembers its own beginning. The pattern of that early light helped shape everything that followed. A star holds, in its composition and its position, a memory of the cloud that formed it. A galaxy's shape remembers past collisions and near misses. A black hole, dense and dark, carries in its mass a quiet record of all it has swallowed. Even the overall geometry of space, the way it curves and stretches, may still bear the marks of events that happened long before any stars existed. These are not memories like yours. They carry no images, no words, no feelings. They are structural, mathematical, etched into the behavior of matter and energy, into the very shape of space-time. Still, in their own way, they are memories, traces of what once happened, influencing what can happen next. Some physicists believe that information, at the deepest level, can never be truly destroyed, not even inside a black hole. They suggest that every interaction, every particle, every flash of light leaves behind a subtle record, too fine for us to read, but present in the pattern of things. If that is so, then nothing is ever wholly forgotten. Not in the largest spaces, not in the smallest. Of course, the echoes do fade. The universe is expanding. Space is stretching. The early fire has cooled until it is just a dim radio-like hum, only a few degrees above absolute zero. Galaxies drift farther from one another. Signals grow weaker, more red-shifted, more difficult to detect. But even this fading is a kind of memory, a quiet statement that says, I was hot once, I was bright once, I have been traveling a long, long time. So you are surrounded by history, not only in books and stories, but in starlight. Every beam of light that touches you has come from somewhere, from something that once burned or reflected long ago and far away. And within you, too, there is a deeper kind of cosmic recollection. The atoms that make up your body were not born with you. The calcium in your bones, the carbon in your cells, the iron in your blood, all of these were forged in stars. Some were formed in the steady, burning hearts of long-lived suns. Others were born in the violent deaths of massive stars that exploded and scattered their enriched material into space. That material drifted, gathered, and was woven into new stars, new planets, and eventually into you. When people say you are made of stardust, it isn't just a comforting phrase, it is chemistry. The universe has been recycling its matter for billions of years, and you are part of that ongoing cycle. You are not only in the universe is in you. If memory is the way patterns persist and shape what comes next, then perhaps memory is not something you carry alone. Perhaps the universe remembers through you, through your thoughts, your emotions, your decisions, just as it remembers through the glow of old light and the curves of distant galaxies. You can let that idea loosen and soften in your mind, like a wave flattening as it reaches a quiet shore. The same fabric of time that holds ancient starlight also holds the moments of your day, the way you woke, the things you felt, the choices you made. Somewhere between the echoes in your brain and the echoes in the sky, there is a gentle connection. As you rest here, you can feel yourself held between those two kinds of memory, the inner and the cosmic, while the night around you deepens. And slowly, without effort, your attention can drift back toward the world beneath your closed eyes, to the curious, subtle ways that time bends and stretches in the place you call home. Because as you lie there, feeling the weight of your body gently supported by the bed, the night around you seems quiet and steady. It's easy to imagine that time is the same, calm, even ticking along like a perfectly regular heartbeat. For a long while, people believed exactly that. Time was thought to be a great cosmic metronome, keeping the same rhythm for everyone, everywhere, no matter what they were doing. Isaac Newton pictured time as something absolute, a kind of invisible, universal clock in the background. Planets moved, apples fell, oceans rose and sank with the tides, all under the same steady tick. Time flowed on, indifferent and unchanged, like a straight, crystal-clear river. And then, in a quiet corner of the world, a young man with thoughtful eyes and unruly hair began to tug at that idea. Albert Einstein sat with his thoughts and imagined trains, beams of light, clocks in strange places. Step by step, he found that this steady, solid river was not so rigid after all. It could stretch. It could slow. It could behave differently for different people. His name has turned into a kind of legend, but his ideas are woven into the devices you use and into the way we understand the universe. Einstein's theory of relativity whispers something surprising. Time is not the same everywhere. It is not a single, unchanging beat. It flows differently depending on how fast you're moving and how deep you are in a gravity field. You can imagine time not as a single hard line, but as a soft fabric spread out across the universe, a smooth, invisible cloth. Wherever there is mass, that cloth dips and curves. A planet, a star, even your own body makes a tiny dent. This shape is what we call space-time. Space and time woven together, rising and falling around matter. Where the cloth dips, where gravity is stronger, time flows more slowly. It sounds like a dream, something from a story, but it has been measured, checked, proven. Think of two clocks as perfect as we know how to build, atomic clocks, ticking with the delicate rhythm of the atoms inside them. Place one at sea level and the other high on a mountain. Let them run together for a while. When you compare them, they do not agree. The clock higher up, a little farther from Earth's pull, has ticked slightly faster. The difference is tiny, far too small for a human body to feel, but it is not too small for our machines to notice. Satellites circling above Earth, including those that help guide the map on your phone, live in a slightly different flow of time than the ground beneath them. If we ignored this, if we pretended, as Newton once did, that time is the same everywhere, your map would drift off by many meters, then by more and more, until it became useless. Engineers quietly correct for this every day. Without Einstein's soft bending of time, you would get lost more often. So here you are, resting. And above you, in the cool air thousands of meters up, a plane is crossing the sky. On board, someone else is drifting towards sleep. Their clock runs, in the smallest possible way, faster than yours. Their body is aging a fraction more quickly, simply because they are higher in Earth's gravitational field. Not enough to change a life. Enough to remind us that time is local. It listens to where you are. If that person were to go faster, much faster, close to the speed of light, something stranger would happen. To them, inside their fast-moving ship, time would feel normal. Seconds would tick by, conversations would unfold, meals would come and go. But for someone watching from Earth, their clock would seem to run slow, their movements stretched out. Their time would be dilated, pulled long by speed. You can picture a spaceship leaving Earth and traveling near light speed for what feels like a few years to the crew on board. When they return and step out onto the same ground they left, they might find that decades have passed here. Children they knew have grown old. The world has moved on without them. Their own bodies carry fewer years than the ones counted on Earth. This is not just a thought experiment. It lives in the mathematics of relativity, and in small ways in the journeys of real astronauts. Those who live for months aboard the International Space Station, circling our planet at high speeds, experience time very slightly differently than those on the ground. The difference is only milliseconds over long stays, but it is measurable. They come back a tiny bit younger than if they had stayed on Earth's surface, their personal river of time having flowed just a little more slowly. All of this springs from the same idea. Motion and gravity shape time. Einstein's deeper insight, his general theory of relativity, tells us that space and time cannot be peeled apart. They form a single fabric, space-time, and mass deforms that fabric. A star, a planet, a black hole. All of these curve space-time around themselves, like heavy stones placed on a stretched blanket. Things moving nearby follow those curves. Light, which you might imagine always travels straight, is gently bent as it passes. Gravity, in this picture, is not so much a force pulling as it is the shape of the path that everything must follow. And when space is curved, time curves with it. Where the dip is deeper, time slows more. From the outside, it can sound almost like saying time has moods thicker here, thinner there. In your daily life, you know another kind of time. The way an hour spent waiting can feel endless, and an hour spent laughing with someone you love can vanish. That stretching and shrinking is subjective, woven from emotion and attention. Einstein's discovery is different. It lies in the bones of reality itself, beneath your feelings, beneath your thoughts. At the same time, there's something beautiful about noticing how these two layers echo each other. the physics of time bending with gravity, and the inner experience of time bending with feeling. Even so, no matter how time curves and stretches, you are always moving forward in it. You don't hover above time, watching it below. You are inside it, like a swimmer in water, always passing from one moment to the next. Your heartbeat, your thoughts, your breath, they all trace a path through this warped and wonderful landscape. It's natural, in the soft hours of the night, to wonder if time can bend. Could it also loop? Could it form a circle somewhere out there in the universe? Allowing a traveler to step back into a moment that has already happened, some shapes of space-time, strange and exotic, seem to allow something like this, closed loops, where a path might return to its own past. They are mostly mathematical possibilities, shimmering at the edge of what we know, like eddies in a river we can't yet reach. Whether such loops are real or only dreams of equations, we don't yet know. For now, it's enough to feel the gentler truth. Time is not rigid. It bends for gravity, softens for speed, and yet wraps around you constantly, carrying you along. As you rest, you are floating on this curved time, cradled by the mass of the earth, drawn toward its center. Let yourself feel that pull, the weight of your body against the mattress, the way the pillow cradles your head. Gravity may feel like a simple downward tug, but it is really your path through space-time curving gently around our planet. You usually don't notice that you are in a gravity well, as physicists call it. You just feel down. But tonight, you can imagine that you are resting at the bottom of a shallow valley in space-time, while above you, the valley rises slowly toward the sky. Up on a mountain, time flows just a little faster. Down here, it flows just a little slower. This isn't only an image, it's something we can measure. Imagine two people, one living high on that mountain, where the air is cold and thin, and the other living in a deep valley, where shadows linger a bit longer each day. Each has an atomic clock, one of those delicate instruments tuned to the tiniest vibrations of atoms. Over years, the mountain clock moves ever so slightly ahead of the valley clock. The person higher up has experienced just a bit more time. The effect exists in your world all the time. The satellites above your head, circling Earth, have their clocks adjusted to account for both their speed and their altitude. Without those corrections, the positions they report would slip away from reality day by day. Time is not a single, universal stream. It is local, personal, shaped by where you stand and how you move. Now, imagine going to extremes. Picture a neutron star, the collapsed core of a once massive star, squeezed down into a sphere only as wide as a city. Its density is almost beyond imagination. A teaspoon of its material would weigh as much as mountains on Earth. Near such an object, gravity is fierce. Space-time dips into a sharp well, and time itself crawls. Someone orbiting close to a neutron star, if they could survive its harshness, would experience minutes, while years passed far away. Their life would unfold in a slowed river, their moments stretched by gravity. Go deeper still, and you find a black hole where matter has collapsed so far that not even light can escape its gravitational pull. Around it lies the event horizon, a boundary that is less a surface and more a threshold. Time near this edge slows almost to a standstill from the perspective of someone far away. If you watched an object fall toward a black hole, you would see it slow, dim, and almost freeze at the horizon, never quite crossing. For the object itself, the fall would feel swift, inevitable. For you, it would look like an endless pause. It's humbling to realize that the most dependable thread in your life, the ticking of time, the steady beat of your days, is so easily stretched and twisted by mass and motion. Even your own heartbeat belongs to a particular place in a particular curve of space-time. Your time is slightly different from the time of someone flying high above you, or someone living deeper below sea level, and so on, layer upon layer. The grace is that these differences, while real, do not disturb your daily life. They sit beneath your awareness, like a slow tide beneath the waves. They simply remind us that the universe has more softness, more flexibility than our first simple pictures of it allowed. Sometimes people wonder if these effects could be used to stretch a life. Could someone live near a powerful gravitational field close to a black hole, perhaps, and experience decades while centuries pass elsewhere? The math suggests that, in principle, this is possible. But the places where gravity is that strong are not gentle. They are stars collapsed into near nothingness, skies full of radiation, environments that tear matter apart. So instead, you practice a quieter kind of time stretching. You do it whenever you rest. Each time you let your muscles soften and your breath slow, you surrender to gravity's embrace in a way that changes how time feels, even if not how it ticks. A single minute of stillness can open like a small ocean of awareness. Thoughts come and go more slowly. The edges of the day blur. This is your own little gravity well. Your bed, your body, your breath. The place where you let yourself sink in and feel time not as numbers on a screen, but as presence. So much of life is spent running with the clock appointments, deadlines, alarms. But the universe has another story to tell, where things are deep and massive and still. Time itself runs more slowly. Slowness is not always a flaw. Sometimes it is simply the truth of how things are when the world is heavy and quiet. Maybe gravity is not only a pull downward, but also an invitation to be here, to feel the weight of the moment you are in, to move through the soft bending of time with a little more gentleness. As your body settles into that idea, your thoughts might begin to turn upward, beyond the ceiling or clouds overhead, toward the sky you know is there. You can imagine it now, a dome of darkness scattered with stars, each one a distant sun. They look like tiny, steady points of light, but they are lanterns from the past, sending out messages across immense distances. Tonight, you can trace the slow journey of that light and wonder what it means to see something that may already have changed or even disappeared. Light moves fast, faster than anything else in the universe. Through the near emptiness of space, it races at about 300,000 kilometers every second, swift enough to circle the Earth 7 times in the time it takes your heart to beat once. And yet, the universe is vast. The spaces between things are so wide that even at that blazing speed, light takes time to travel. When you look at the moon, you are seeing it as it was a little more than a second ago. That isn't much, just a tiny breath of time. When you look at the sun, never directly, but through its reflected light and warmth, you are feeling sunlight that left its surface about 8 minutes earlier. If, somehow, the sun were to vanish in an instant, you would still see it shining in the sky for those 8 minutes, because the light already on its way would still be arriving. And when you look at the stars, the delay grows longer. Some of them are only years away, others are hundreds, thousands, or even more. Their light has been traveling all that time, threading its way through space before finally slipping into your eyes on some quiet night. Each particle of light, each photon, is like a tiny messenger from the past. It leaves a star, passes by drifting dust and wandering planets, moves across the cold, silent distances, slides into our atmosphere, and ends its journey when it meets the back of your eye. You don't feel the touch, you just see a gleam. But in that gleam is a record. This is how I was when I sent you, the star seems to say. In this way, seeing is a kind of remembering. The farther you look into the universe, the farther back in time you see. A star 100 light years away is already 100 years behind you. Its light began its journey before you were born, before much of what you know was here. And yet, on a clear night, it shines toward you as if no time has passed at all. So you lie there, held by gravity, wrapped in curved time, your eyes closed or half closed, and somewhere above you, the starlight continues its patient travel. You are a small, resting shape on one world, but you are also part of a vast exchange of signals, light, gravity, memory, moving through a universe that bends and stretches time in ways both measurable and deeply mysterious. For now, you don't have to solve any of it. You can simply breathe and let the knowledge settle softly. Time is not as simple as it once seemed. It curves under your back. It flows a little differently in the sky than it does on the ground. It carries messages on beams of light, and it holds you gently in the middle of it all as you drift towards sleep. Because even if a star has fallen silent, if its fire has faded and its surface has gone dark, the light it once poured into space keeps traveling on. Long after the star itself has changed, its glow continues the journey, carrying an image of what it used to be, like a postcard that took millions of years to arrive. And when that light finally reaches us, it is more than beautiful. It is full of information. Astronomers read starlight the way you might read a letter from a faraway friend. They spread it into spectra, long rainbows sliced into fine threads. In those threads are tiny patterns, lines, and gaps, and subtle colors that act like fingerprints. From them, scientists can tell what a star is made of, how hot it burns, how fast it is moving, even whether it is drifting away from us or toward us. Your eyes simply see brightness. Their instruments see history written in light. And the story does not end with nearby suns. There is light that has traveled not just hundreds or thousands of years, but billions. Telescopes like Hubble and the James Webb Space Telescope stare into the darkest patches of sky and reveal that they are not empty at all. In those faint specks of light are young galaxies, glowing when the universe was still new. The glow we see left them long before Earth existed, before there were oceans or trees or anyone to look up and wonder. When we study that distant light, we are not only seeing what once was, we are glimpsing how everything we know came to be. The colors and shapes of those early galaxies, the way they cluster and stretch, hold clues about how the universe grew from a hot, crowded beginning into the wide, quiet darkness you rest under now. Even the space between the stars is not truly empty. It is filled with a faint, even hum. The cooled remains of the Big Bang, the cosmic microwave background. This too is a kind of light, stretched so far and cooled so much by time that it no longer shines to your eyes, but hums instead as a whisper of warmth, a leftover glow from the universe's first fire, still present everywhere. You are surrounded by ancient light. Even on a night that seems completely dark, photons born long ago are drifting past you and through you. Some brush your skin, others slip through your body without a sound. Closer to home, light carries gentler meanings, the golden angle of late afternoon when shadows grow long, the soft blue of dawn when the world feels freshly washed. the small, warm flicker of a candle on the wall. Each of these is light, shaped by time and place, and also by the memories you attach to it. When you close your eyes, those images can linger. They remain not because the light is still there, but because your mind holds echoes. Perhaps you remember a starry evening, a hillside, the ground cool beneath you, the air still, and above, a sky scattered with light. You looked up and felt something vast and wordless, as if the age and distance of those stars were leaning softly toward you. In that moment, you were not just looking at points of light, you were looking through time. Every clear sky is a museum of ancient light, a gallery of photons still finishing their long journey into someone's gaze. So let yourself drift into that gallery. Imagine floating among those beams, each one a thin thread connecting then to now. Let the hush of cosmic time settle around you like a soft blanket. As you rest there in your mind, you might wonder, if starlight carries the past forward, could this moment also ripple outward? Every sound you make, every movement, sends tiny disturbances into the world. Heat, breath, and faint waves of light spread away from you. In small ways, traces of now are always leaving you, traveling into someone else's future. With that thought nearby, turn your attention to something simple, the feeling of this moment itself. Not just the fabric beneath you or the rhythm of your breath, but that quiet sense of being here, right now. It feels like a single point in time, sharp and solid. But when we look closely, that feeling softens. Science suggests that the present, the now you lean on, is not a razor-thin instant. It is more like a short window, a gentle overlap between what has just passed and what is about to begin. By the time your brain becomes aware of a sound, a touch, or a flash of light, that event is already very slightly in the past. You are always a little behind reality, piecing it together as it flows by. Your brain is not showing you the world as it is in this exact fraction of a second. It is showing you a world it has already finished building. To do that, it gathers signals from eyes, ears, skin, each arriving at their own pace, and weaves them together. It smooths over gaps, hides small mismatches, and quietly predicts what is likely to come next. It is like a careful weaver mending a net while the boat is still moving. All of this takes time, only milliseconds, but enough that your sense of now is actually a small stretch of time rather than a single point. Neurologists sometimes call this the specious present, a brief span, often just a few seconds long, in which your brain collects what it needs and offers it to you as one flowing moment. Inside this little window, you can hear a melody instead of separate notes, see motion instead of flashing still images, follow a sentence from beginning to end, and feel it as one continuous thought. Your now is not a dot, it is a rhythm, a small breath of time, long enough to keep the story smooth. This is not a flaw, it is a kindness. If your brain showed you everything exactly as it arrived, with every tiny delay exposed, the world would feel jumpy and broken. Instead, your mind edits and blends, turning scattered pieces into a calm stream. That stream is where you live. Think again of a river. The water touching your hand is already moving on, yet while you stand there, it feels steady and present. In the same way, by the time you notice a moment, it is already flowing downstream. What remains is the feeling it leaves behind, like the coolness of water on your skin. Not every now is the same. Some animals seem to experience time in a quicker rhythm than you do. Their brains take in more frames per second. To them, your movements might look slow, while to you, their wings or paws are a blur. Scientists suspect that different creatures have different lengths for their specious present, their own natural window of now. Even among humans, your sense of the present can stretch and contract. When you are anxious and waiting, each second can feel heavy and slow. When you are absorbed in something you love, hours can slip past almost unnoticed. The clock keeps its steady pace, but your inner window opens and closes. So what is the present, really? Not a single tick on a clock, not a pin stuck onto a line of time. It is a sensation, a field your awareness moves through, made of fresh memories, immediate perceptions, and small expectations about what comes next. Deep in physics, the equations that describe the universe work almost the same backward as forward. Past and future are not as sharply separated there as they feel in your life. The arrow of time, the feeling of before and after, is tied to how things tend to spread out and to the way your mind remembers. But lying here, you do not need to solve the puzzle. Even if now is a small wave instead of a single point, it is still where your breath happens, where your body rests, where your thoughts rise and fall. The fact that your sense of it is built by your brain does not make it less real. The illusion is not a trick. It is a home your mind builds for you in the middle of change. You do not have to cling to this moment to keep it from slipping away. It is already doing what all moments do, arriving, opening, fading. All you are asked to do is let yourself be here while it is here, letting the edges soften. And as you lie there, feeling your own quiet travel through time, another question may drift in. Without any machine or effort, you are already moving from past to future, one heartbeat at a time. You grow, you change, you remember. You are, in a simple sense, a time traveler who always moves forward. But could time ever move another way for you? Could the river curl back toward its source? Could there be a path that leads not only onward, but back? Physicists have wondered this too. In their language, space and time together form that soft fabric called spacetime, stretching and curving around mass and energy. We have already felt how gravity can bend this fabric, slowing clocks near heavy objects. If space-time can curve, could it twist so tightly that it loops back on itself? Einstein's equations, explored in certain extreme situations, suggest that such loops are not forbidden. They have a technical name, closed time-like curves, but you can imagine them simply as paths that, if you followed them, might bring you back to the same place and time where you began. A circle in time, where yesterday and tomorrow touch. These loops appear in the same mathematics that describes black holes and the expansion of the universe. But just because the numbers allow something does not mean the universe chooses to make it. Many physicists suspect that such curves, if they could exist at all, would be unstable, collapsing, or tearing the moment anything tried to travel through them. And then there is the quantum world, the realm of the very small, where particles behave in ways that bend everyday logic. A single particle can exist in more than one state at once. Two particles can become entangled so that changing one seems to affect the other instantly, even far apart. In some theoretical models, particles can even interact with something like their own past through tiny loops of probability. These are not journeys in a time machine, but they hint that, at the smallest scales, time may be more tangled than it seems. You may have heard of wormholes. Imagine tunnels through space-time that connect distant regions of the universe. In some solutions to Einstein's equations, Wormholes appear as mathematical possibilities, shortcuts between far-off places. In a few ideas, if one end of such a tunnel aged differently than the other, through speed or gravity, the two mouths could end up at different times, as well as different places. Stepping through might take you not only elsewhere, but elsewhen. We do not know if wormholes are real. We do not know if they could stay open or be large enough to cross. For now, they live in the space between theory and imagination. Lanterns of possibility held by people who like to wonder. And maybe for us, that wondering is already a kind of time travel, letting the mind wander along these gentle paths, feeling how rich and strange the universe might be, even while the body remains here, resting, moving quietly forward, one slow breath after another. Because when people dream about time travel, it isn't only about tunnels in space-time or distant galaxies. It's often painted with shining machines and spinning dials, yes, but underneath the glow and the drama, the questions it raises are much softer and more personal. They're questions about cause and effect, about choice, about whether the past is something fixed forever or something you might, in some tender way, be able to touch. If you could go back, really go back, what would that mean? Could you change anything at all? What happens if you stop the very event that once sent you hurrying into the past? These puzzles are called causal paradoxes, little knots in the thread of time that logic struggles to untangle. The more you pull, the tighter they seem. Some ideas in physics suggest the universe would quietly protect itself from such contradictions. No matter what you did, events might bend and twist around your actions so that the story remains self-consistent. You'd be free to choose, but your choices would end up fitting the past you already knew. Other ideas imagine that if real time travel ever existed, it would happen only in neat loops, journeys that change details but never break the larger pattern, like a circle that closes exactly where it began. But maybe time travel doesn't need to be literal to matter. Maybe you already move through time in gentler ways, a smell that pulls you straight back into a childhood kitchen, a song that folds years into a single breath, a story that makes a distant century feel close enough to touch. These journeys don't rearrange atoms in the past, but they rearrange the way you feel the past inside you. They're not scientific, but they're real, and they shape who you are. It's all right, especially at night, to let impossible doors exist in your imagination. You might picture a quiet opening hidden somewhere in space-time, a soft shimmer you can step through. On the other side is a day you'd almost forgotten. You see yourself there, smaller, unknowing. You don't interfere. You simply stand at the edge and watch more carefully this time. The way the light fell, the expression on someone's face, the tone of your own voice. Nothing in history changes, but something in you does. You remember more kindly. You understand more deeply. Where does that leave you? Not with certainty, but with awe. The laws of the universe, as far as we can tell, are spacious enough to hold these questions, even if they never hand you a tidy answer. Some questions are like stars, distant, unreachable, and still somehow comforting just because they shine. While those far-off questions glow in the background, another mystery sits quietly in your day-to-day life. Not whether you can go back, but why you move forward. You wake, you grow. Things happen, and then they stay happened. Tea cools and never warms itself on the table. Footprints press into sand, but the sand never leaps up and places them on your feet. What gives time its one-way feel? Deep in the equations of physics, time does not prefer a direction. The math runs just as smoothly backward as forward. And yet you live in a world with a clear before and after, a past you can remember, and a future you can only imagine. This directional feeling, the way time seems to have a front and a back, is called the arrow of time. That arrow is shaped, in large part, by entropy. Entropy is often confused with chaos, but it's more subtle than that. It's a measure of how many ways something can be arranged. An ordered state has relatively few possibilities. A more jumbled state has many. A deck of cards lined up perfectly by suit and number has low entropy. Shuffle it, and the number of possible arrangements explodes. Almost all of them look random. That's higher entropy. Think of an egg resting whole and smooth in your hand. There aren't many ways the molecules in that egg can be arranged and still look like that single, intact shape. Crack it into a bowl and suddenly there are countless ways for the liquid and shell to spread. There are far more messy possibilities than neat ones. That's why broken eggs don't unbreak on their own. The universe isn't against order. There are simply more ways to be disordered than ordered. So a system, left to itself, is more likely to wander into those states. A tidy room feels similar. Every object has its place, every surface is clear, but one open window, one hurried morning, one hand tugging a book from a shelf, and the arrangement shifts. Dust settles, clothes drift onto chairs. It doesn't instantly become chaos, but it slides, bit by bit, toward a state with more possible arrangements, more small variations. You know how much effort it takes to clean, to build structure, and how quickly that structure can fray. In thermodynamics, the study of heat and energy, this tendency is written as the second law. In a closed system, entropy tends to increase. Heat flows from hot to cold, energy spreads out. Order gives way, not to simple ruin, but to more complex, more blended states. Tea cools because its heat disperses into the room. Ice melts because warmth flows in. Buildings decay not because something hateful is acting on them, but because the countless ways for them to crumble far outnumber the few ways for them to stay pristine. Here is a gentle, surprising thought. You exist because of this process, not in spite of it. You are not outside entropy. You are a small, intricate region of temporary order within a universe that's slowly spreading its energy out. The food you eat, the sunlight that touches your skin, the oxygen in your lungs, these flows of energy keep your structure going for a while, and in doing so, they help the larger universe move from concentrated to more evenly distributed energy. You are like a small swirl in a broad current, a pattern held together for a time by energy passing through it. Even as you rest tonight, entropy continues. Heat leaks, chemical reactions settle, things mix and spread. But entropy is not only about breaking, it is about transforming. A piece of wood burns and becomes ash and smoke, but it also becomes warmth in a room, light flickering on walls, new patterns in air and flame. A broken egg becomes breakfast. Shuffled cards become a game. Disorder opens paths for new forms of order to appear. So the arrow of time, the fact that things flow one way, is not something to fight. It is something you ride. Your memories look backward because the world leaves traces only after events, not before. The cooled cup, the fallen leaves, the photograph in a drawer, all of these are marks left by processes in which entropy increased. Memory is built from those marks, whether they're chemical shifts in your brain or objects in your environment. In that sense, memory itself is an echo of entropy. a soft footprint of time's passage. Many physicists think the universe began in a state of extraordinarily low entropy, a kind of delicate cosmic order that is hard to explain and harder to imagine. From that unlikely beginning, there was really only one direction for entropy to go: up. As the universe expanded and cooled, matter spread, stars ignited, galaxies formed, and the arrow of time emerged. You are still inside that first great unfolding, still inside that long, outward breath. Within this larger drift toward higher entropy, small pockets of order keep appearing: spiral galaxies, branching trees, coral reefs, cities, and the quiet profile of a human head settling onto a pillow. These pockets don't defy entropy. They borrow energy from their surroundings to build structure for a while. You are one of them. There is no rewinding to an earlier state, but there is always the gentle possibility of becoming something new. Each day rearranges you slightly. Your room shifts, your body changes, your thoughts lean in new directions. Tomorrow's world will not be exactly like today's, and that is all right. That is how time writes. Time doesn't only pass through your thoughts, it moves through your body, leaving tiny records behind. Your skin is one of those records. It stretches and creases. It heals from cuts, but often leaves small lines, faint reminders of scrapes and surgeries and falls. Freckles appear where the sun once lingered on your shoulders. These marks are time made visible, moments your body decided to keep. Beneath the surface, your cells are dividing, repairing, and sometimes miscopying. Tissues rebuild themselves again and again, never perfectly. Little changes accumulate, like writing and rewriting on the same piece of paper, until faint traces of older words remain under the new. Your bones grow and remodel throughout your life. They carry hints of how you've stood and walked, of breaks that healed, of how much weight they've held. Your skeleton is not a static frame, it is an evolving logbook. Your teeth, too, hold quiet records. Enamel, once formed in childhood, does not change. Hidden inside are chemical traces of the water you drank and the food you ate. Growth lines can reveal times of stress or illness. In a way, your mouth holds fossils of your own early years. Your muscles remember patterns as well, not as images, but as ease. The way your fingers tie laces without conscious thought. The way your body keeps its balance on a bicycle, even if you haven't ridden in years. Repetition strengthens pathways in your nervous system until effort becomes grace. Time passes through movement, and the movement leaves behind skill. And then there is sleep, where time takes on a different flavor. As you close your eyes and drift, the sharp grid of minutes and hours begins to dissolve. You may slip into a dream that feels as long as an afternoon, only to wake and find that little time has passed. You may leap from childhood to adulthood to a scene that never truly occurred without feeling any jolt at all. In dreams, time is not a straight road. It is a patchwork field, stitched from feeling and memory. Your body lies quiet, muscles slack, breath deep and slow. Inside your skull, though, there is a gentle storm of activity. During certain stages of sleep, especially the one marked by rapid eye movements beneath closed lids, regions of your brain linked to vision, emotion, and memory grow lively. The seahorse-shaped hippocampus, guardian of memory, seems to replay and reorganize recent experiences. Dreams aren't faithful recordings of your days. They are more like remixes, pieces of recent events blended with scraps from years ago, colored by fear or longing or joy. A person you miss may appear in a place that no longer exists. A worry from last week may wrap itself in the scenery of your childhood. Time loosens its grip, and your mind wanders through combinations it would never dare in waking life. In that drifting state, you may even dream of waking up, only to discover later that you were still asleep. You may find yourself in loops, circles of time that close only when morning light finally seeps into the room. Even here, though, in this strange inner landscape, you are still traveling forward in the larger sense. Your body is continuing its repairs. Entropy, outside your blanket, is still gently increasing. The universe is still expanding, still cooling, still writing its long story. And you are allowed, for a while, to float inside your own quieter story, one made of memory, imagination, and the soft, steady unfolding of real time. You don't need a machine or a portal. You are already moving through time, already carrying the past in your body and your mind, already being shaped by a universe that never stops changing. All that's asked of you in this moment is to rest inside that flow, to let your thoughts soften, and to trust that the same laws that guide galaxies are guiding your next breath, here, in the dark, as you gently drift toward sleep. Some dreams seem to squeeze whole lifetimes into the span of a nap. You might grow up, fall in love, lose things, find them again, all between two alarms. Other nights, one tiny instant, a look, a word, a single step stretches into a long, wandering story. You circle it again and again, as if your mind is turning it in its hands, looking for a meaning in its shape. These are not mistakes. Dreams do not measure time the way your waking mind does. They don't care about clocks. They keep time in intensity and emotion, in how deeply something touches you. A dream can last a few minutes and feel endless, or fill an entire night and leave only one sharp image behind. Sometimes, in the middle of this strange landscape, you become aware that you're dreaming. The walls of the story turn a little translucent. You realize you can lean on them, move them, soften them. These are lucid dreams, moments when a quiet awareness lifts you just above the plot. You might slow everything down, change the scene, turn, and walk back through a door that just closed. Time in those dreams feels almost like a substance you can hold. You can let it run through your fingers like sand, or clench your hand around it and stay in one moment longer. For a little while, you are not just traveling through dream time, you are shaping it. In dreams, fears come back, but so do joy and curiosity. You might fly without effort, float from city to mountain in a single breath, sit with someone you miss, or walk through a house that never existed. You might speak words in a language you've never learned, or simply sit in a patch of sunlight that belongs to no real day at all. In that world, nothing has to be linear. Nothing has to be realistic. It only has to be felt. Yet, even this drifting, strange time of dreams is grounded in your biology, your inner clocks, your circadian rhythm, your sleep cycles and brain waves all help decide when and how you dream. Most vivid dreams arrive during REM sleep, when your eyes flicker beneath closed lids and your brain hums with activity. But soft fragments can rise in deeper, slower stages too, like bubbles from a dark ocean floor. Sleep is not a switch turned off. It is a layered journey. You move through phases, light, deep, dreaming, each with its own texture of time. When you wake, you may remember nothing at all, or a whole story, or just a feeling that sits on your chest like mist. Some dreams vanish the moment you open your eyes, dissolving before you can grab them. Others revisit you again and again over the years, like letters you keep finding in a drawer you forgot you had. Whether you remember them or not, your brain remembers the process. It has sorted, stitched, and gently rewritten. You wake slightly changed, slightly restored, as if someone has smoothed the crumpled pages inside you. So tonight, you can let go of the rigid rhythm of the day. You followed schedules. You watched the clock. You walked along the arrow of time in a straight, patient line. Now you can let that line loosen into a spiral, into ripples. You can step into a space where the past and future are only settings your mind can choose, and what truly matters is the quiet story your sleeping self is ready to tell. While your dreams unfold, time is leaving its marks elsewhere, too, under your body, in the ground that holds you up. The earth remembers, though not in thoughts or images. It remembers in rings and layers, in cracks and dust and stone. Beneath you, time has been folded, pressed, and stored for longer than any memory a mind could hold. Think of a tree standing in a field. Year after year, it reaches for light, drinks water from the soil, breathes in carbon from the air. Beneath its bark, each growing season leaves a thin new ring. In rainy years, the ring grows broad. In dry years, it is narrow. A lightning strike, an insect swarm, a nearby fire, all leave subtle marks in the wood. If you were to look at a cross-section of that trunk, you'd see circles like the grooves on a record. Those rings are the tree's timeline, a quiet record of seasons it has endured. Scientists reading those rings, dendrochronology, they call it, can learn not just the tree's age, but what the climate was like when droughts visited, when volcanic ash dimmed the sky. A forest becomes an archive, an unwritten library of past weather and sunlight. The earth writes in layers, too. Dust settles, leaves fall and decay, ash drifts from distant eruptions, shells sink to the bottom of shallow seas. Grain by grain, these remnants pile up, turning over long stretches of time into sedimentary rock, sandstone, limestone, shale. Each layer has its own shade and texture, its own mixture of what lived and what broke and what blew in on the wind. Buried in these layers, fossils rest. Bones, yes, but also tiny shells, impressions of leaves, even footprints hardened into stone. They are more than curiosities. They are timestamps, whispers saying, I was here, I moved, I ate, I grew under this sun. Through them, the planet holds on to versions of life long after the living bodies are gone. Far to the north and south, ice remembers as well. In glaciers and polar caps, snow falls year after year, each winter pressing the last into a thinner layer of ice. Trapped inside are tiny bubbles of ancient air, flecks of ash, specks of dust from deserts and meteors. When scientists drill deep into the ice and pull up cores, they are holding cylinders of time. The deeper the ice, the older the air inside, stretching back hundreds of thousands of years. By studying those bubbles, we can read past temperatures, shifts in greenhouse gases, signs of fires that burned before there were words. Even frozen water becomes a memory keeper, transparent to the present, but full of clues about the past. Rocks carry longer stories still. Mountains rise where continents collide and crumple. Caves are carved by water and remember floods in the shapes of their ceilings and floors. Canyons slice through rock, exposing layers like pages laid open, each one formed in a different age. The chemistry of certain minerals reveals when they were forged in deep heat, when they cooled, when they cracked. Among the most ancient of these storytellers are tiny crystals called zircons. Some are more than 4 billion years old, older than most of the crust they now sit within. Inside them, trace elements are arranged like the ink of a very early chapter. They hold signs of the first oceans, the first cooling of the planet's surface, the earliest hints of a world that could someday host life. A grain smaller than a grain of sand can carry the memory of Earth's first gentle rain. The oceans remember in their own slow language. Sediments drift to the sea floor, layering into thick blankets that record changing chemistry and currents. Coral reefs grow outward in rings like underwater trees, tracking temperature and acidity in their skeletons. Even waves themselves, visiting the same shore over and over, slowly carve cliffs and arches and smooth stones, a poem of patience written in rock. When you lie down on the ground, you are resting on top of all this. Rings, layers, fossils, crystals, sediments. You are not separate from these stories. Your bones are made of minerals once dissolved in ancient seas. The carbon in your breath may have been part of a leaf long ago. You are one more layer being written, one more pattern made from Earth, living for a while and then returning. And above you, even the sky you imagine when your eyes are closed is not as still as it looks. Picture a familiar constellation. Orion leaning over the horizon, or the Big Dipper pouring toward the north. The stars seem fixed, like pins in a velvet cloth. For thousands of years, people have used those shapes to navigate, to tell stories, to mark the seasons. It's easy to believe they will always look just this way. But the stillness is an illusion that comes from distance and time. Each of those stars is moving, swirling around the center of the Milky Way, weaving their own paths through the galaxy. They travel at enormous speeds, but they are so far away that their motions appear slow from here, almost frozen. Astronomers call this drift proper motion, the slow change in a star's position against the background of the sky. With careful measurements taken over years and decades, they can see how stars creep from one spot to another. Most shift only a little in a human lifetime. Give them tens of thousands of years, and the change becomes dramatic. If you could speed up the sky, watching it in fast forward, the constellations would twist and stretch, lines would bend, familiar shapes would melt away, Orion's belt would unfasten, the Dipper would warp and spill. The pictures we draw between stars are just snapshots, meaningful from our point of view in this brief slice of cosmic time. Some stars are restless wanderers, sliding quickly across our line of sight. Others are on paths that will someday bring them much closer to us or carry them far away. Over long enough spans, the patterns will transform into something no one living now would recognize. And stars themselves are not permanent. Now and then, a new light appears where the sky was empty, a guest star, ancient observers called it. They did not know they were watching a star in its final act, exploding in a supernova, pouring out a last flood of light. That light might travel for years or centuries before arriving here. By the time you see the brilliant flare, the star that made it has already changed into something else entirely. Every time you look up, or even imagine looking up, you are seeing different layers of the past. Some of the starlight reaching you tonight left its source before your grandparents were born. Some began its journey before humans ever wrote down their first stories. The sky above you is like a long exposure photograph taken from inside a time machine, with each point of light arriving from a different then. So here you are, resting between memories of dreams, memories of stone, and memories of stars. Your own body holds its quiet records. The ground beneath you holds deeper ones. The sky above carries records older still. All of them are parts of the same unfolding time expressed as light, as wood, as ice, as rock, as breath. You don't have to hold all of that in your mind. You can just feel the softness of this moment, the way your body sinks into whatever supports it. the way your chest rises and falls, the way your thoughts slow. The universe is keeping time in countless ways, and right now, it is also keeping time through you. As you lie there, remember that you're not only resting on the earth, you're moving with it. Even in perfect stillness, you're part of a vast, slow dance. The earth is spinning beneath you, turning you gently toward sunrise. At the same time, it's circling the Sunday. The sun itself is orbiting the center of our galaxy, and that galaxy is drifting through space, pulled and nudged by other galaxies in a cluster that is floating in an ever-expanding universe. You are not watching from the outside, you're inside the choreography. Every quiet moment in your life is nestled inside this enormous motion, too slow to feel, too large to see, but always happening. When you point at a star and whisper a wish, you're reaching toward a point in this dance that might already have changed. Some of the stars you see are no longer burning the way they did when their light began its journey. Their cores may have gone dark, or exploded, or shifted into something new, and yet their light is still arriving, still slipping into your eyes. That doesn't make the light any less real. It means the past is still in transit. Beauty can outlast its source. You are looking at echoes that still shine. The constellations slowly deform, the stars drift, the light bends around heavy objects, and still the sky feels both changing and constant at once. It holds you in a pattern that is always moving, even while it appears steady. Maybe that's true for you as well. Even on nights when you feel completely still, some part of you is always becoming cells turning over, thoughts shifting, subtle feelings rising and fading. Your stillness belongs to a larger rhythm. From inside that rhythm, a quiet question flickers. Did time itself ever start? Was there a first moment, or has before always stretched further back? We are used to beginnings of days, and songs, of friendships, of stories. It feels natural to ask, when did time begin? For a long stretch of human history, many thinkers imagined a universe that had simply always existed, extending endlessly into the past and the future, with no first page. In the last century, a different picture emerged. Observations of distant galaxies showed them racing away from one another, as if the universe were stretching. When scientists rewound that expansion in their calculations, everything seemed to converge to an earlier, denser, hotter state. From this came the idea we now call the Big Bang. Despite its name, it wasn't an explosion bursting into empty space. It was space itself expanding, like a balloon being blown up, carrying matter and light along with it. From that first dense, bright phase, the universe cooled and spread out. In that unfolding, time, at least as we understand it, began. If time began with that event, then asking what came before is like asking what lies north of the North Pole. The question feels natural, but it might not fit the shape of reality. Before is a word that belongs inside time. If time itself was born in that early expansion, there may simply be no before to point to. Not just an unknown answer, but a place where the question itself dissolves. Still, not everyone agrees on one single picture. Some physicists wonder if our universe might be one bubble in a much larger cosmic sea, with other bubbles forming, expanding, and fading. In some ideas, universes might cycle, collapsing and blooming again, like a long, slow breath. In, out, in, out. Time stretching not as a straight line, but as loops and oscillations. Others look to the smallest scales, where gravity and quantum physics must meet. In that realm, The fabric of space-time might become foamy and uncertain, without a clear before and after. Time could lose its usual meaning entirely. Instead of moments lined up neatly, there might only be probabilities, vague hints of order from which our familiar, smooth time later emerges. In some modern views, time might not be fundamental at all. It could be something that arises from deeper patterns, the way ripples appear on the surface of water, even though the water itself is made of countless, separate molecules. In that sense, time is not the stage on which the universe performs. It's part of the performance itself. For you, this means that even the most basic feeling, that time flows forward like a river, might be a kind of story your mind tells, built from memory, change, and the steady increase of entropy. Time might not be a thing in the way that a rock or a tree is. It might be the language we use to describe how events relate to one another. Whatever its deepest nature, you live inside this unfolding. Every breath, every quiet thought in the dark belongs to it. There may be mysteries about beginnings and cycles and other universes, but right now, the only time you truly touch is this one, this soft, present moment. That is enough. As the universe keeps its vast physical records in tree rings and ice cores and starlight, your mind keeps its own, more fragile, more intimate record. And just as important as what you remember is what you let go. There is a calm kind of forgetting that is different from the anxious search for lost keys or a name on the tip of your tongue. It's the way sharp edges of old moments gently blur, the way details fade, leaving behind only a feeling, a mood, a faint warmth. Forgetting like this is not failure. It's part of how your mind moves through time. Your brain is not a storage room packed with every word, every face, every street you've ever walked. It couldn't carry all of that, and it doesn't need to. Instead, it is selective. It keeps what seems important or often used and allows the rest to sink softly into the background. Forgetting is not just the absence of memory, it is an active process, a quiet pruning and reshaping that takes place in the chemistry between your neurons. Some memories simply fade because you don't revisit them. Pathways that once lit up brightly when you recalled a certain classroom or a particular smell grow dim when you stop walking them. Like footpaths in a forest, they become overgrown when they're not used. Other memories are gently overwritten. New experiences that feel similar press into the same circuits, and the old ones become harder to separate from the new. There is even, deep in your brain, chemical machinery that helps dissolve memories. Some molecules act like natural erasers, weakening the connections that hold a memory together. If they act too strongly, memories fade quickly. If they don't act enough, almost nothing is let go, and that, too, can be painful and overwhelming. Your brain is always searching for balance, enough remembering to stay yourself, enough forgetting to stay light. Sometimes forgetting is kind. Certain painful experiences are walled off, blurred at the edges, or pushed further from easy reach. They may never vanish entirely, but they lose their sharpness. They move from the front of the mind to the far hills of it. Other times, forgetting can be bittersweet. A date you shared with someone, a joke that once made you laugh, now recalled only as a soft glow, the details washed out like an old photograph in sunlight. Children forget much of their earliest years, not because those years were empty, but because their minds were still building the systems needed to anchor memory. As you grow older, you might forget what you wore or exactly what you said last week, but remember clearly how someone made you feel. The mind seems to keep the emotional pattern even when it lets go of the scene. You are not a vault meant to preserve every scrap of the past. You are a river. Water flows in, carries leaves and reflections for a while, and then moves on. The river is no less real because it cannot hold each leaf forever. In nature, forgetting happens everywhere. Flowers bloom and fall. Forests lose leaves and grow new ones. Animals explore new paths and abandon old ones. In your own body, cells die and are replaced. Skin renews. Blood cycles. You are never exactly the same arrangement of matter or memories you were a year ago. Change is built into you. At the same time, some memories dig in deeper. Events tied to strong emotion, love, fear, joy, surprise, are less easily erased. Your brain flags them as important, strengthens the connections around them, revisits them more often. They become part of your story, part of the structure you use to recognize yourself. Researchers are beginning to see forgetting not just as an unfortunate loss, but as a tool for clarity. By letting go of specifics, your mind can see patterns. By dropping certain details, you can bend in new directions, imagine new solutions, update old beliefs. Holding everything equally would be like trying to carry every object you've ever owned on your back. Letting go makes space to move. So forgetting and remembering are two halves of the same rhythm. One gathers, one releases. Together, they let you keep walking without being crushed by everything you've already seen. Tonight, you don't need to hold every memory sharp and bright. You can let the edges soften. You can let some things drift downstream. You are still here. The important parts of you are not measured by how much you can recall, but by how you continue to feel, to care, to grow. If you were to shrink yourself now, in imagination, down past your skin and bones, past molecules and atoms, into the tiny world beneath all of this, you would find another kind of mystery waiting, the mystery of time at its smallest scales. To your senses, time feels smooth, a constant pouring from one moment into the next. But in the quantum world, where particles are also waves and certainty loosens into possibility, time may not move in such a simple, steady line. There, events are described in terms of chances and probabilities. An electron is not in one exact place, but spread out over maybes, humming between possibilities. Change happens in jumps, in flickers. At that level, some physicists wonder whether time is truly a continuous flow, or more like a fine grain, a sequence of tiny, trembling steps too small for us to feel. Clocks built from quantum processes, atoms shifting between energy levels, particles oscillating tick with a precision that brushes the edge of how finely time can be sliced. From the sweep of galaxies down to the flicker of electrons, time weaves through everything, sometimes as a clear arrow, sometimes as a blur of chance. And here you are, somewhere in the middle, feeling it as a gentle river. You don't need to grasp all of this to rest inside it. All you have to do is breathe. Let the questions drift like distant stars, and trust that whatever time truly is at its deepest, it is holding you in this moment as you slowly, quietly drift towards sleep. At the scale of your everyday life, time feels like a smooth river. One moment pours into the next, without a seam, without a visible edge. But when you sink down into the quantum world, that river starts to shimmer and break into something stranger. In quantum mechanics, some physicists think time might not be real in the way a stone or a tree is real. It might not be a thing that exists on its own, but something that appears when particles interact, when events leave relationships between one another. Others imagine that, at the very smallest scale we can talk about around the Planck time, an unimaginably tiny fraction of a second time might come in units. not infinitely divisible, but made of tiny, indivisible ticks. If that is so, then time is not perfectly like a river at all. It is more like a staircase, so fine that, from far away, the steps blur into a slope, or like a tone that sounds continuous to your ear, but is actually made of many rapid vibrations. Up close, quantum time might be built from pulses, little bursts of change. We already use some of those pulses to keep track of time as precisely as we can. Our most accurate clocks are not based on gears or swinging pendulums, but on atoms. Certain atoms, like cesium or ytterbium, have electrons that jump between energy levels at a very specific frequency. Each jump produces a tiny pulse of light, a rhythm so regular that we define the second by it. By international agreement, 1 second is tied to a fixed number of these tiny oscillations in a cesium atom's radiation. It's like saying, we will call this many quantum heartbeats 1 second, and then building our clocks around that. Atomic clocks are so steady that they would drift by only about a second over billions of years. Newer designs are even more delicate. Scientists trap atoms in webs of laser light and cool them almost to absolute zero, then listen to their quantum vibrations. These optical clocks can detect how gravity slightly slows time over distances as small as a few millimeters. Shift the clock up or down a tiny amount, and the rate of time changes just a bit. These are not just instruments, they are tiny windows into how finely the universe keeps time. Yet, in the quantum realm, even the idea of a clear before and after starts to blur. Some experiments hint that events can exist in a kind of superposition of orders, where you cannot say with certainty which came first. It is as if event A and event B take turns being before and after, or occupy both roles at once until you look closely. The usual chain of cause and effect softens. In some theories that try to blend quantum mechanics with gravity, time doesn't appear in the basic equations at all. It emerges only when you look at larger systems from a particular perspective. In that view, time is not the stage on which everything takes place. It is more like a pattern that appears when countless interactions are woven together, an agreement between events, rather than an object. And still, here you are. You don't feel Planck time grains or cesium pulses. You feel the slow rise and fall of your chest, the quiet passing of thoughts. But beneath that softness, at scales too small to sense, tiny quantum rhythms are ticking. Their effects ripple outward, building atoms, shaping chemistry, supporting the life of your cells, and ultimately giving you the continuity you call yourself. You are not separate from that world. You are made from it. The strange, jittery pulses of the quantum realm, the almost unimaginable precision of atomic time. These are part of the deep clockwork that carries you from one breath to the next. From the very small, your thoughts can drift toward the very dense, the very dark, to places where time itself bends almost to a halt. Imagine something vanishing, not just hidden behind a wall or lost in a drawer, but gone in a way that feels absolute. For a long time, black holes were thought of like that cosmic pits where anything that fell in simply ceased to matter. But as we've watched them more closely with our minds and our equations, a quieter possibility has appeared. Perhaps nothing is ever completely erased. A black hole is not really a hole, but a region of space where gravity has become overwhelmingly strong. When a massive star exhausts its fuel, its core can collapse under its own weight. The outer layers may explode in a supernova, while the center shrinks into something astonishingly dense. Around that collapsed core lies an invisible boundary called the event horizon. Once something crosses this boundary, even light cannot escape. From far away, if you watched an object fall toward a black hole, you would see it slow down as it approached the horizon. Time for that object, from your perspective, would stretch and stretch until its motion almost froze. It would dim and fade, but never quite seem to cross. From the object's own point of view, though, time remains normal. Its fall is swift, and it passes the horizon without noticing anything special in that exact instant. For many years, the simple story was, whatever goes in is gone. Not only the matter itself, but the details of what it once was, the arrangements of its atoms, its history, its information, all lost behind the horizon, beyond return. But this troubled physicists, because at the quantum level, the rules seem to insist that information can change, but cannot be destroyed entirely. This puzzle grew sharper when Stephen Hawking showed that black holes are not entirely black. Quantum effects near the event horizon cause them to slowly leak radiation and lose mass over extraordinarily long timescales. Eventually, a black hole could evaporate completely. If all it leaves behind is random radiation with no memory of what fell in, then information would truly be gone. That clashed with quantum theory, and so the black hole information paradox was born. Since then, many physicists have come to believe that the universe does not allow such complete forgetting. One idea is that information is not stored inside the black hole in a way we can reach, but on its surface, in delicate patterns along the event horizon. Like a hologram, a two-dimensional image encoding a three-dimensional scene, the surface might somehow encode everything that has ever crossed it. This holographic principle suggests that black holes could be more like locked archives than graves. The details of what fell in might be scrambled and unreachable, but not annihilated. Just as fossils in stone tell the story of creatures long gone, the patterns on a black hole's horizon might, in some deep mathematical sense, tell the story of stars, gas, and light that once danced in the open. Some even wonder if this idea extends further, that the whole universe might preserve its history in ways we don't yet know how to read. That every action, every whisper of energy, leaves a faint trace, written into the shape of space-time itself. You don't have to follow every twist of that idea. It's enough to feel the possibility. Maybe nothing is ever entirely lost. Not fully. Even when something vanishes from sight, some imprint may remain, quiet and subtle, carried forward. You are not a black hole and not a star, but you are still part of this same fabric. Every word you've spoken has stirred the air. Every step you've taken has shifted matter, however slightly. Every kindness, every decision, every small act has threaded itself into the world in ways that continue onward. Physics suggests that, at the deepest level, information is conserved. You are not erased. You are woven in. While the universe holds on to traces in its own way, time is also writing gently within you. Even now, as you lie here in stillness, you are changing. Aging is the name we give to that long, quiet conversation between time and biology. It began the moment your first cells divided. It continued as you grew, as your bones lengthened, as your muscles strengthened, as your mind learned to focus and wander and dream. Aging is not only about decline, it is also about growth, adaptation, the layering of experience. You are not the same as you were a year ago, or last week, or even this morning. Your body and your thoughts are like a river, always flowing, never quite repeating the same pattern. Inside your cells, there are structures called telomeres, sitting at the ends of your chromosomes. You can imagine them like the plastic tips on shoelaces, protecting the genetic material so it doesn't fray. Each time a cell divides, its telomeres get a little shorter. When they become too short, the cell slows its division or stops altogether. This is one of the many small clocks of aging, no ticking sound, just a gradual shift in how often cells renew. Your body responds to time in other ways too. Bones grow denser as you learn to stand and walk, then may slowly lose that density later, especially without use. Skin thickens in youth, then thins and creases as years pass. Your immune system spends childhood building a library of what to fight, becoming wise and strong, then eventually grows more cautious, less quick to respond. It is not a simple breaking down. It is a long conversation between your genes, your environment, and time. Not all creatures follow the same pattern. Some tiny freshwater animals called hydra show almost no signs of aging. Their cells continually renew in ways that seem to sidestep the usual decline. Certain jellyfish can revert from a mature state back to something like their juvenile form, rewinding their own development under the right conditions. Naked mole rats, odd little mammals that live underground, resist many typical signs of aging far longer than their size would suggest. Nature experiments with time in many ways. Humans do too. For countless years, people have searched for ways to stretch youth. A special diet, a secret spring, a medicine, a practice. Today, scientists study how cells enter senescence, a state where they stop dividing. They look at molecules that repair damage, at the roles of sleep, food, movement, and stress. All of this can influence how you feel as you age, how healthy and strong you remain, and still, the larger rhythm continues. None of this means that aging is a failure. It is a form of unfolding. Lines on your face tell of years of expression. The way your hands move shows the skills you've practiced. The way your thoughts settle or open reflects what you've lived through. Time leaves marks, but many of them are signs of having been alive, of having loved and learned and endured. You are changing, and you always were. Even this moment, this quiet, this breath is part of that change. There is no need to fight it here in the dark. You can simply notice that you are held inside something vast and intricate. Quantum pulses, bending space-time, black holes, storing secrets, forests, recording seasons, your own cells ticking gently on. You are one small, luminous pattern in this sea of time. For now, you don't have to calculate or explain it. You can let the deep clocks do their work while you rest, letting sleep rise slowly to meet you. One soft, invisible second at a time. Aging is not a mistake. It isn't a glitch in the system or something that needs to be fixed. It's something to be understood, the quiet way time moves through a living body. Inside you, not everything ages at the same pace. Some of your cells turn over quickly, skin renewing itself, blood cells being replaced, the lining of your gut refreshing again and again. Others are more enduring, like many of the neurons in your brain that stay with you for a lifetime, carrying the stories you've gathered along the way. Even your age is not just the number of birthdays you've seen. Your biological age, the wear, repair, and resilience of your body can drift ahead of or behind the calendar, shaped by stress and rest, by nourishment and neglect, by love, safety, and healing. And your mind, in some ways, it too slows. Names slip away more easily. It may take a little longer to recall a word or to adapt to something new, but in other ways, the mind deepens. You start to see more nuance in simple situations. Patterns stand out more quickly. Feelings your own and others become easier to read and to meet with gentleness. Wisdom doesn't live in muscle or bone. It grows at the crossroads of time and attention, from staying present with your own life. Aging isn't something that happens apart from living. It is living. You cannot grow without aging. You cannot learn, love, change, or rest without moving through time. One day, your body will tire, as all bodies do, but it will have been a good home, shaped by laughter lines, sun on skin, storms weathered, and quiet nights like this one, where you paused long enough to feel the rhythm under everything. So for now, lie here without fighting the clock. Notice how time has softened certain edges in you, how it has strengthened others, how it has carried you to this exact moment. Your heart still beats, your breath still moves, the song of you is still playing. You're not simply running out of time, you are becoming more fully yourself with each hour that passes. Far beyond your senses, time is being counted in another way, too. You've heard the ticking of wall clocks and watched shadows slide across a room, but there are clocks that don't tick at all. They shimmer instead, humming in rhythms so precise they could guide a ship across the solar system or notice time bending over the height of a single step. At its heart, a clock is just a counter, something that keeps track of regular repetition. The swing of a pendulum, the vibration of a quartz crystal, the steady beat of a tiny electromagnetic wave. The more regular the rhythm, the more precise the clock. In the search for stability, humans eventually looked inward, into atoms themselves. Instead of measuring a slice of a day, we tied the second to the light emitted by a particular transition inside cesium atoms. There, electrons jump between energy levels and emit a specific frequency of radiation, a tiny pulse that repeats with astonishing consistency. We chose a fixed number of those oscillations and said, "This is 1 second." From that choice came atomic clocks, their ticking invisible, their rhythm anchored in quantum behavior. Those clocks are so stable, they would drift by less than a second over hundreds of millions of years. They now keep our global time, guide GPS satellites, synchronize communication networks, and help us test the laws of physics. Newer optical clocks use light with even higher frequencies, trapping atoms in lattices of laser beams and cooling them close to absolute zero, so nothing disturbs their rhythm. Their sensitivity is so fine that lifting one of these clocks by a small distance, moving it slightly farther from Earth's gravity, changes the rate at which it experiences time, and the clock can tell. These devices don't just tell us what time it is, they reveal how deeply time is woven into matter itself. They quietly verify that gravity bends time, that motion slows it, that the universe is structured in a way that can be measured with astonishing grace. Yet for all their sophistication, they do not feel. They don't know what it's like to wait for an answer, to miss someone, to wish a moment could last a little longer. They measure time, you live it. You, too, are full of clocks, molecular rhythms, pulses of hormones, cycles of sleep and wakefulness. Your heart, your breath, the firing of neurons, all beat out their patterns alongside the quantum precision of the atoms in your cells. You are both the instrument and the listener. And you are not alone. All across the planet, other creatures are keeping time in their own ways. Imagine slipping out of your own sense of time and borrowing another creature's for a while. A fly, for instance, seems to move with impossible speed. When you raise your hand to shoo it away, it darts off as if it knew your plan before you did. Part of the reason is that many insects can process visual changes far more quickly than we can. Their nervous systems break the world into more frames per second, so your movements look slow and ponderous. Their lives aren't longer, but each moment is packed with more events. Now think of a whale gliding through deep water. Its heart beats slowly, its breaths are deep and far apart. A single dive may stretch on and on. A migration may unfold over months. The ocean is wide and dim and patient, and the whale's sense of time seems to match. Long arcs, extended silences, vast spaces between beginnings and endings. Other animals tune themselves to different rhythms entirely. Bats navigate by rapid bursts of sound and echo, measuring time in the tiny gap between a call and its return. Sea turtles cross oceans and somehow find their way back to the beaches where they once hatched, guided by cycles of tides, the pull of the moon, and cues we barely understand. Bees can sense the angle of the sun and the time of day with such accuracy that they visit flowers when nectar is richest, dancing the locations of those flowers to their hive mates. Some birds sleep in midair, catching tiny fragments of rest as they migrate, stitching together full sleep from countless small pieces. Dolphins let one half of their brain sleep at a time so they can surface to breathe. Their sense of night and day is not a single block of darkness and light, but a mosaic. Even plants keep time. They open and close their leaves, tilt toward light, fold in on themselves at night, according to internal clocks tuned to the rotation of Earth. Every living thing feels time in some form, shaped by its body, its needs, its world. Some experience a quick, intense flicker, others a slow and spacious flow. Even among humans, a child's year stretches like a vast landscape, while an older person's year can pass like a brief breeze. Anxiety stretches minutes, joy hides them. Novelty seems to make time rich and long. Repetition seems to make it thin and fast. There is no single correct way to feel time. There are only different tempos, different textures. Tonight, you can gently borrow some of those: the long, quiet patience of a tree, the steady rhythm of a tide, the deep, slow heartbeat of a whale. Let your own sense of urgency loosen a little. There is nothing you have to catch right now. Time doesn't need to be chased. It will meet you where you are. If you lift your awareness back toward the sky, you may feel again the presence of another great timekeeper, the moon. You've watched it change shape in the sky: thin, crescent, half, bright, full circle, then back again. Every cycle from new to full and back takes about 29.5 days, a natural month written in silver light. Long before printed calendars or digital clocks, people watched this pattern and built their sense of time around it. The very word month is born from that lunar rhythm. But the moon is not just a lantern. It's a partner in a gravitational dance. Its pull lifts and lowers the oceans, drawing tides around the globe. Twice each day, waters rise and fall, responding to that steady tug. The movement is slow, vast, and mostly silent, an entire planet's worth of water breathing in and out. Life learned to listen. Some fish lay their eggs only on certain high tides. Coral reefs release clouds of eggs and sperm in synchrony, guided by lunar cycles, as if the whole ocean keeps one shared calendar. Even those of us who no longer rely on the moon to mark our days may feel something subtle shift, a restlessness on some nights, a brightness in others, a sense that sleep is slightly different when the moon is full. The moon's own face tells a story of time, Its surface is covered in craters and scars from ancient impacts. With no wind or rain to smooth them away, these marks remain, preserving moments that happened millions or billions of years ago. Even the footprints left by astronauts decades ago are still there in the dust, almost unchanged. Where there is little weather, the record of time stays visible. Yet the moon is not fixed either. It is slowly drifting away from Earth, centimeter by centimeter each year. Long ago, it looked larger in our sky and tugged more strongly on our tides. Far in the future, it will be smaller, more distant, and the perfect eclipses we marvel at now, when the moon exactly covers the sun, will no longer occur. Even this great, gentle clock is changing. Tonight, though, it is still there, following its familiar path, turning and pulling and shining on the world beneath your closed eyes. You don't need to know its phase or its precise position. It keeps its rhythm whether you track it or not. You feel it indirectly in your sleep, in the tides, in the stories your ancestors once told under its glow. Time is moving through everything, through your cells and your memories, through the clocks we build and the ones we carry in our bodies, through animals and oceans and the pale face of the moon. It flows in ways that are smooth to you and grainy to physics, local to each creature and shared across the universe. You are resting at the center of all these rhythms. There is nothing you need to fix, nothing you need to hold tightly. The universe is keeping time all around you and within you, and your only task right now is to let yourself be carried one breath, one heartbeat, one soft, unhurried moment at a time. For now, let the moon keep the rhythm for you. Let the slow pull of unseen tides gather your thoughts and gently lay them down. Let time pass as softly as silver light on still water. When you close your eyes, your body is still, but your mind rarely is. Inside, you drift backward, forward, sideways across scenes, sensations, and years. You remember a summer evening, jasmine on the air, someone's face turning toward you in laughter. You imagine a future shore, your hand reaching out toward waves that haven't yet touched the sand. Without moving an inch, you cross miles and decades. Tonight, we sit quietly with that ability, your mind's way of folding time. There is no science fiction machine humming in the corner, no portals, no glowing doors, just the ordinary, extraordinary way your brain can revisit what has been and anticipate what might be. Some call this mental time travel, your capacity to remember the past and imagine the future. To do that, you need both memory and imagination. When you recall something deeply, your brain doesn't pull a perfect recording from a shelf. It reactivates old patterns, sounds, colors, textures, emotions, rebuilding an experience as best it can. Memory is not a drawer you open. It's more like a place you step into for a while. A hallway you walk down, walls lined with moments. And with almost the same steps, you walk forward. You picture a conversation you haven't had yet. You imagine how it will feel to sit at that table next week, to hear that news, to arrive at that place. Your brain uses many of the same regions to simulate tomorrow as it does to reconstruct yesterday. It is always rehearsing, predicting, preparing. Part of you is almost always a little ahead of yourself, living in what hasn't happened yet. This is a gift. It lets you learn from mistakes, plan your days, apologize, forgive, create. It lets you say, if I had done that differently. And next time, I'll try this instead. It lets you dream in both directions, backward into what was cherished, forward into what could be. But like any powerful gift, it casts a shadow. Spend too long walking the halls of yesterday, and you may feel regret, longing, or grief pressing in. Linger too long in imagined tomorrows, and you may feel anxiety, pressure, or fear of what might never come. Your mind's easy motion through time can comfort, and it can tire you. That's why it matters that you can return to the simple feeling of now, to the weight of your body resting where it is, to the sound of your breath, to the feeling of the blanket on your skin. Presence is not about forgetting the past or ignoring the future. It's about giving your mind a moment to set down its luggage. Some people, because of illness or injury, lose pieces of this ability. When certain parts of the brain are damaged, memory can fray, and the capacity to imagine the future often frays with it. The same machinery that lets you replay what was also helps you picture what could be. When one is dimmed, the other is, too. Past and future are not opposites in your mind. They lean on each other. At night, dreams take this time travel further. Your mind loosens its grip on logic and sequence. It shuffles events, blends old faces with new places, lets you talk with people who are gone, puts you in rooms that never existed. You may be young again, or older than you are now, or outside of age altogether. Clocks have no authority there, and yet the feelings can be very real. In this way, your sleeping mind bends time into shapes that help it process, release, and sometimes heal. Nostalgia is another kind of gentle travel. It's not just remembering, it's remembering with longing. A song comes on, and suddenly you're back in a room decades away. For a moment, the ache and the warmth arrive together. Nostalgia can sting, but it can also soothe. It reminds you that you have lived, that there were days full of firsts and foolishness and laughter, and that some part of those days still lives in you. Tonight, if your thoughts wander, you don't have to pull them sharply back. Let them stroll. Let them wander the garden of your own story, past corners you haven't visited in a while, future paths half drawn in the dust. There's no need to stay in any one moment for long. Just notice how easily you move, how gently your mind can cross its own timeline. You are not trapped in the present. You are also not lost in the past. You are held by a mind that knows how to touch many moments and still breathe here. And under all of this, for all your inner traveling, one tender question has been waiting. Where does a moment go when it ends? A sentence finishes. A candle is blown out. A door closes behind someone you love. You feel the moment slip, and yet something of it remains, a warmth in your chest, a scent in the hallway, an outline of feeling in the air. Physics offers a strange sort of comfort here. In Einstein's picture of the universe, time is not just something that flows. It is one dimension among others. Space and time together form a kind of fabric, and every event is a point on that fabric. In one way of seeing this, sometimes called the block universe, all moments, long ago, right now, and long from now, coexist in a vast, four-dimensional tapestry. You experience them one by one, like a traveler walking a path, but the path itself, with all its bends and milestones, might already be there, in a sense, whether or not you've reached each part. In that view, the past is not a ghost that has vanished. It is simply a region of the landscape you're no longer standing in. Other ideas about time say something different, that time might be emergent, not fundamental, that what we call past and future only crystallize when things interact, when they leave traces. Yet even in those pictures, the past does not fully dissolve. Every event leaves marks, entropy increasing, particles rearranged, energy spreading. Think again of starlight. When you look up, you rarely see a star as it is right now. You see the light it sent long ago, finally reaching your eyes. Some of those stars may have changed or ended, but their light still carries the message, I was here, I burned, I shone. In a softer way, your past moments do this, too. They are carried forward as traces, in your memories and misrememberings, in the habits of your hands, in the way your shoulders tense at certain words, in the stories you tell and the ones you don't. They exist in old photographs and worn-out shirts, in recipes passed down, in the way you look at someone you care about. The past may be out of reach, but it is not unmade. It has become part of the shape of you and part of the wider world. There is comfort in that. The laughter you've shared, the mistakes you've learned from, the brief, shining moments you thought were too small to matter, they all left something behind. Even the days you barely noticed as they passed are woven into who you are now. So, as you lie here at the end of this long wandering through time, from atoms to stars, from black holes to tree rings, from circadian rhythms to moonlit tides, know this, you are not separate from any of it. You are one small, luminous thread in the tapestry, a verse in the poem, a heartbeat in the long, patient song. You don't have to hold all the mysteries. You don't have to solve what time really is. You only have to live this moment and the next, and let the universe keep its own great clock. If your eyes are heavy now, let them close. Let your thoughts grow lighter, like pages settling shut. The past is written into you. The present is cradling you. The future is on its way, quietly, at its own gentle pace. There is nothing more you need to do. Rest, traveler. You are safe in time.